Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick Zemp and Collin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 31. My name is Merrick Zemp, and with me, as always, my buddy Collin Simpson. How you doing tonight, Simps?
I'm doing good, Mav. Getting down to the nitty-gritty of what's left in the playoffs. It's getting pretty exciting, and it looks like we've almost got down to, well, the same as last year.
We're getting close, aren't we? I know I could hear your voice wavering a little bit with the thought of Carolina perhaps not making it past the conference finals this time. I know that always breaks you up a little bit, but why don't we touch base there first? We'll recap the East and then circle back to the West where we know things are a little bit more important. So what did we have over the last couple of days over on the Eastern side?
Well, the last time we talked, it was a 3-0 lead, obviously, for Florida. They'd been in quite command of pretty much every game. It didn't look like last time I spoke, I was a little surprised on how little Carolina seemed to be pushing back. Obviously, we talked about like the mental aspect of not seem to be able to take a win in the conference finals.
15 straight.
15 straight. But then they did take one, right? They did actually get a game back in Florida. And, it was actually a pretty good game by them, too. I didn't feel like it was just like against the run of play or anything like that. I felt like I was surprised. And kudos to that team, because I wrote them off in the sense of you're down 3. We were talking about they're already thinking about the summer. And yet they came back and had a fantastic game and were able to make it 3-1.
Yeah, it was a 1-0 game the whole way with a couple empty netters. Like, you gotta, as far as games go, a 1-0 win is as hard fought as you can get. There's every shot is a risk, every play is a risk. Like, it's just a nightmare, and you know that you're kind of just you're waiting for that shoe to drop, right? Especially against a team like Florida. You're just waiting for that one chance where Tkachuk manages to just fire one on net, or, something goofy happens or whatever. Like, you're waiting for that to happen. So battling hard and getting a 1-0 win was a good job by them.
Yeah, for sure. And like Florida's been putting up tons of goals on these guys, right? And that just goes to show how much harder they worked at it. And I think, as you spoke about, the 1-0 win, like, it'd be different in the game if they won the game, but they got like 2 or 3 power play goals early in the game. And then, you know what I mean? Doesn't mean you've worked that hard to get back in it. You just happen to get a couple early and you hung on for a win. Doesn't mean you've put any more effort into it. But when you're talking about a 1-0 game that could easily flip the other way, Florida could easily come and nail 2 or 3 back on you real fast, but they didn't, because they worked their butts off to make sure they can hang on to that and had belief in themselves that, you know what, this series is not over in their minds, right? Unfortunately, as we speak tonight, the reality of it is it was somewhat all for naught, albeit they played another fantastic game again tonight, in my opinion. They kept it. They were ahead for a bit, I think, in the beginning. They got ahead.
Yeah,
Florida made
went
a
up
bit
2-0.
and Florida made a bit of a comeback. I saw the one goal tipped in by Tkachuk. They kind of tied it up, and then I loved Seth Jarvis's goal tonight. I don't know if you saw his. I thought that was a fantastic goal, and again, it was not like an end-to-end type goal, but it was just the fact that in close, he pulls the puck to the side, and like any player normally would just be trying to rifle it because you're kind of off body. He literally just does this little light flip back across the body into the corner. I thought that was just fantastic to be able to put the mind and thought of taking that type of shot. I attribute it to like when I watch a lot of soccer and guys coming full out, the goalie's coming sliding at you, and you have the thought process of doing a little tiny chip over top the goalie, and you're like, well, with all that happening so fast at the speed it happens in professional sports, to be able to just do that, I thought it was a fantastic goal. And I thought, well, that goal there could have saved the Hurricane season. It kind of looked like that was where it was going to go, and then Barkov comes in and more or less manhandles his guys going around. Now, don't get me wrong, and this is a bone I have to pick with McDavid as well, and Barkov does it, and I'm sure like tons of stars do it, but the whole reach out with the offhand and grab the stick and hold the play off, that's how you hold the guy off, compared to just pushing your arm out as like a forearm shiver or whatever. Yeah. Barkov did do this on this play, got away with it. He did come back around, threw the puck over, and an unsung hero that seems to be an unsung hero the last 3 years for the team, Verhaeghe, buries it. And dashes the hopes of Carolina's comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that anyone outside of maybe Carolina's front office was really believing that they were going to manage to win 4 straight games on Florida. But I mean, you got to believe, you got to try, and everything else. And they were in this game. And if they would have played this way the first 3 and been competitive and been in the games, it might have been a split as opposed to being down 3-0 and whatever. They might have got that split at home. They might have whatever, and it could have been a whole series. But obviously, coulda, woulda, shoulda, whatever. There we go. Florida is going back to the Stanley Cup final for the 3rd year in a row. So I saw a little clip. It showed that 2 years ago they touched the Wales trophy, and then last year they didn't. So obviously 2 years ago they touched it and didn't win. They didn't touch it and did win. So this year again, of course, they didn't touch it and just left it where it was. So we'll see if that's going to be enough to save them. I sure hope it isn't. So going back from there, congratulations, a good season, obviously by Carolina, but they're out.
I do want to talk quickly about it before we move off of them.
Yeah.
Kind of want a food for thought and kind of want to get your opinion. So Carolina's had probably, 5 or 6 seasons where they've been probably one of the tops in their division. They've always been a front runner. They've had great young talent that's kind of come together. Conference finals, how many times? That being said, 1 win in the conference finals. Here's my question to you, and I'll give my opinion as well. After all that, does Rod Brind'Amour keep his job?
Because of who he is, I'm sure that he will. Because they made it past the second round. They were, I believe, I want to say 5, and it might be 6 years in a row they've made it to the second round of the playoffs. Out of that, they've only made the conference final, I want to say 2 of those times before this one. So 2 out of 5 before this. Now they're 3 out of 6, maybe. I think you're still progressing. I think the other part with that is that if you're Carolina's front office, you're looking at a team that has changed and developed. They lost, net cash this year. They had Rantanen for a while. They got Stankoven for Rantanen. And they made other changes and made other moves. This is a team that you could be comfortably aware that they didn't get there. If they feel they need to get bigger and stronger, then you feel like they will this offseason. Right? If that's what they think. If they think they just had a bad run of luck, if they had guys injured, if, whatever it was, or they just came up against a tough Florida team and couldn't compete, whatever it is, you got to think that they'll try and fix that in the offseason because that's what Carolina does. Now, are they successful at it? And maybe not, right? But I still see them as a softer team. I still see them in a softer division. I didn't believe in Washington. I didn't believe in New Jersey. So big wins over them didn't give me any hopes that Carolina was going to walk their way to the finals. I know you predicted that they would win, and I said Florida in 5, maybe 6. But I just felt like Florida was just going to be too strong and push them around and kind of do what they did in the first few games. So these last 2, if I would have looked at the last 2 games and watched them, I might have picked Carolina instead. They looked good. They looked like good teams, and they looked like it was going to be a hard-fought series and everything else. You wouldn't know that they were already down 3-0 by the time they started playing well.
But do you not kind of liken this to what Trent Green, what was the last Leafs coach, whom same kind of situation in my opinion.
Sheldon.
Keith. Yeah, Sheldon Keefe. I see that as kind of the same type of situation where you're you've had a few years with the guys, you've had great regular season success. You've had years where you could try to say the same thing where, we progressed from first round to second round sort of thing, right? At what point, though, do you look at it and go, this is a team that every time they've gotten to the conference finals can't get it done?
Mm-hmm.
And so who do you look at? You can look at the players, obviously, and I always do. I believe 80% of all blame in any scenario of any sport is the players, right? Unless the coach does something just absolutely stupid. But the fact is,
the other 20% is obviously Flames fans.
Yeah,
doesn't matter why.
In this scenario, you're okay, but you can only let one guy go. One's the easy route out.
Yeah,
and so I just was one of those thoughts because I'm with you. I think Brind'Amour's a fantastic coach. I think that I don't attribute it to him, but I just was wondering when people look back at this and go, this is a team that they got a game back, but in essence got smoked 4-1 by Florida.
Yeah.
They squeaked by Washington. Not squeaked by, I should say. They got by Washington, who was garbage. They got by Jersey, who was garbage. So could you have been a first-round knockout? Like, I know we're talking about
if they're up
conference
against
finals.
Tampa Bay in the first round,
Any of the teams of the
right?
Atlantic.
Like even like a Montreal.
That's what I'm saying. So that's where I'm wondering, like,
Yeah.
is there a point where you look at it and go, sorry, Rod, they can't get it done when they need to get it done under you? And the same thing happened to Keefe. They let him go because of that. It's not like he had a bad year. He didn't have an off year where they didn't finish with 100 points and had all these superstars. And so I don't know. It's just a food for thought. I just kind of, when I was watching the game, I thought if they went up 4-0, I thought for sure you're probably going to see him go.
I think my feeling for this is tough because I don't watch their games as tight, and I don't watch it. But what I see from a guy like Knobloch is that if the Oilers get smoked in the first period, they come out and they're a different team in the next period. And I mean, part of that might be just
that's not Knobloch though. There's no way.
Of course it is.
You think it's him over Connor McDavid?
Oh yeah.
Not
just.
Not a
no,
chance.
but you have to say.
I'll bet money that he hardly speaks in the dressing room compared in that dressing room. I would, if you're a smart coach and you're coaching the Edmonton Oilers, I say nothing because I know both Leon and Connor are both speakers. So as a coach, why would I ever speak?
As a coach, you have to point out what you're missing, right? Whether that's, okay, they're playing a 2-1-2 instead of a 1-2-2. They're, and I'm talking about adjustments. I'm not talking about rah-rah speech. No, I don't think that Knobloch's the guy that's standing up there and screaming and yelling at him, come on, guys, it's time to go. No. But I think that he's a guy, and it seems to me that the Oilers will make a change between periods, that something will change the way they do it. So when you look at Brind'Amour, like, is he doing that? And I don't watch their games enough to know that, okay, they're getting pummeled in the first period. And then look at that. The second period, they're playing exactly the same way. Like, they didn't change anything. Like, this isn't working. You got to adjust as you go, right?
And I agree there, but I think a lot of those changes get adjusted like during the game, during that period. When they're going over the ice, the other coaches are adjusting how they're sending the guys out, talking to them on the bench. I don't know if it's as much in between.
You always seem to notice the difference. You know what I mean?
Do,
like
but
the other night, it was
other Oiler games. Watch every other Oiler game we watched against LA and that. It wasn't just adjustments. It was they were skating.
Oh yeah. There's lots of that too. Like you said, even when it comes to that, 80% is the players.
That's what I mean.
You could draw up a great play.
And I believe
you come around.
Skating comes from McDavid and them going, guys, get off your asses and get skating.
Yeah. No, that part I agree. But no, I find that there's times, like the other night, it was 22 shots for Dallas in the second period, and they were completely stifled in the third. Like, they changed what they were doing. The Oilers changed how they were doing it, whether it was just skate harder, be more aggressive, get on the puck, or whether it was, watch, they're dumping it here, they're doing this, they're using this forward for that, they're putting a guy up high, they're, if they're noticing some of those things. But it seems like there's times where they just make some adjustments and it starts to sync better and it works better. They're more aggressive in this, more aggressive in that. They're doing this.
But in that game, so I guess we might as well jump into that game. Since we're kind of talking about it, in my opinion, in that game and in some other games I've seen, that to me was more a product of how the flow changed. So let's start the first period. So the first period, in my opinion, how I saw it, it was a Dallas domination. Knobloch's come out and said it. McDavid's come out and said it. Their cycle game was on. They had a lot of chances. Honestly, should have had 2 or 3 goals within the first 4 or 5 minutes. Hit a post. I don't know who shot it, but you should. But this is the Dallas story in this series, in my opinion. And they don't capitalize when they need to capitalize. They're given chance. Skinner made a save. We made one save. We didn't even know he made it, but it's still a save. It's a positional save, right? You weren't sliding out of the net, so you made the save.
Yeah.
And
are you talking game 3 or game 4?
The game we just watched.
Okay.
Game 4.
Yeah.
And so it was just, the Oilers just weren't in it yet. They just were not doing anything. They were getting caught by the cycle play, and that's the way Dallas has to play. They are a great cycle team. They are a big team. They seem to be in sync when they're in that zone, and they do, unfortunately, just don't muster always a ton of chances, even though sometimes they get shots. I feel like
the O time,
I feel like their
zone time is good, but
they overcycle sometimes. I'm like, what? A guy could have came out and just took a shot from there. but they'll do one more cycle and then they'll eventually lose it. And then you're like, well, okay, so you guys did 7 great cycles, but you did it while Connor's off the ice. So what, and Draisaitl are off the ice. So what did you really do? Tire out the fourth line who's only going to get 7 minutes anyways? Like, you didn't tire out a professional athlete in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just seems like sometimes they overdid it. And so I think for me, the way I saw the first period was very much a Dallas. And I really thought, well, Dallas looks like they've come to play tonight. Maybe this is going to be a game they steal back on the road and they might even it up. But then things at that point changed.
Yeah. Well, and whether it's just skating, whether it's just executing the plays you already been told to do, and now you're actually making those passes, you're actually putting it off the boards properly, or, like whatever those kind of things are, or whether it is like, okay, they're doing this. This is how they're cycling. This is what they're doing on us. We got to make this move faster. We got to put a guy down low, whatever, and trying to make those adjustments as well. It just seems like Edmonton can do that and can make those changes even mid-game.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I say about Brind'Amour. I don't watch the games enough to know, but is there something like that? Is he just a yeller and he's screaming at him in between periods? Or is it something like, look, here's the X's and O's. Here's why they're beating us right now. We have to do this better. Or is it just their guys were getting pummeled and you start to slow down?
And that's
you don't want to fight for a puck.
So we go to the second period, in which I felt was a much more even period. And I feel like kind of I'd probably give the edge to Edmonton. But at the same token, I didn't feel like Edmonton played much better. I felt like what was happening is the Stars looked frustrated. They looked confused. They didn't know what else to do. Even when they made a good play, Skinner made a save. They can't seem to buy a goal right now. They spent a lot of time not scoring, a whole bunch of players that can normally score. And then any puck that bounced out somehow turned into like a 2-on-1. And the speed going the other way, Edmonton's not a team. Like I attribute it to a lot of other soccer teams that we look at where you do like a defend and counter when you have a fast team, right? You just go, okay, well, let's hold off, play well defense, and then break out. And that's what I find the Oilers do amazingly. Like, because of so many players have speed. It's not just one guy. It's not just McDavid. There's a lot of players that can be gone quickly, right? Yep. And because they're playing good defense, they're creating these blocked play or a foot in the lane and they go. And I felt like just Dallas was getting themselves caught more. So a lot of the chances for Edmonton were a lot of breakoffs like that. Well, they weren't actual breakout from the defenseman pass out. They were turnovers from the cycle going the other direction.
Yeah. Well, and Dallas has been chasing the game for basically the whole series, right? Other than the one period. So by chasing the game, you have to do that. You have to stretch it a little more. You got to open it up a little more to try to get that offense, which, like you said, they're frustrated. They're not getting. So yeah, you open it up and you do. You're going to allow more chances. Your D-men are going to pinch down low, and if it does get chipped by them, you're 2-on-1 or 3-on-1, and yeah. So I agree. I think it was a little bit more evened up in the second period, and I think Edmonton just it's just shutting them down and doing what they need to do. I said before, if they're in sync and the goalie and the defense are playing well together, then the chances are limited and they're not as good. So you kind of add both of those things together, and by doing that, you make Skinner look good and you make the team look good, and then you just get your chances while they get frustrated.
And in this scenario, technically, it wasn't even just the counters this time; it was the power plays.
Yeah,
right. They went 2 for 3 on the power play. Technically, it's the only 2 goals they got that weren't empty netters.
Yeah.
So it was really a 2-1 game until a couple empty netters. But I still feel like Edmonton was starting to get much better chances in that third. I think Ottinger played well. Obviously, Skinner even out-dueled him. He even had a better game than Ottinger. Mm-hmm. Both guys were well over 930. So that was a good game by both of them. There was definitely, but I just feel like by the time the third comes, you could start to see some of the age in the Dallas Stars. Mm-hmm. Like Jamie Benn has been invisible.
Yeah.
Tyler Seguin has been invisible.
I think Ben took a penalty and stuff just for being Jamie Benn, but
yeah, like they just don't look like by the time the third. And I don't know if it's just all that cycle play where that's a lot of physical. And here's my problem with them is, like you spoke about earlier, they've been chasing the whole series. You know what's not great, in my opinion, for a chasing team is their style of play. The cycling. They literally cycled a bunch in that third still quite well. I was surprised. I kind of thought they'd start to just shut down. But they cycled quite well at times. There'd be times where it'd be like minute and a half, and Oilers zone. The Oilers haven't touched the puck. But guess what? You're chasing the game and not even getting a shot.
Yeah.
So you're literally killing. Like, that's a great style when you've got a 2-goal lead to get in the
Oh,
zone
and you're
and
the
just
other end?
eat up a
Oh,
minute
yeah.
and a half.
Yeah.
But they did that on multiple occasions, and I was watching the TV going, you guys know it's your guys' time, right? Like, you cannot be, and there was a lot of chip and chase. We talked about it, and I think maybe one of the other series where it was just so much just get to the no skating through the neutral
Oh,
zone.
with LA.
Yeah, like no skating through the
Yeah.
neutral zone. Get
Every
there and
time, as
chip
soon
it
as
in.
LA was up, in those
Yeah.
couple games where it was close, as soon as LA was up, the entire third period was just, as soon as you got it, just lob it out to the center ice.
But I feel like that favors Edmonton massively because of the fact that if, let's say, the defenseman, you know, all those things that I hate now, the lob up in the middle pucks all
Yeah.
the time. I hate that. I don't know when that came apart with hockey, but it's disgusting. But anyways, it favors the Oilers because of the fact that the defensemen just catch it and get it down, and the forwards from Edmonton are so fast. There's
Yeah.
Draisaitl and Nuge and Connor. They're so ready to go that it's just a quick grab the puck onto your stick. The other team's probably making a change or they don't know where the puck's going. It's a quick boom the other direction. And next thing you know, when Leon gets speed in, like as much as I love Connor McDavid, when Leon gets speed in, I don't know how you defend him because he's quicker than most people think.
Mhm.
And his puck strength is absolutely Jaromir Jagr, Peter Forsberg-esque, right?
Yeah.
He turns his body and you can't get it. And I'll tell you, like, if I was to say why the Oilers have such an advantage over every team, and this would, you could say Leon as well.
The fans. It's the fans.
No, it's definitely not the fans. Couldn't be more annoying.
Have you met Leafs fans?
Well, that's true. I'm wrong. that is true. No, it's the fact that on every single power play, they're the only team that will guarantee on every power play to start set up in the zone. Right? I've never seen a team ever stop Connor on the entry. So, and every time, like I watch the Flames and other teams play when they're trying to, since Johnny's been gone, there's no entry guy. So I bet you maybe 40% of the time, the first carry in might be stayed in to get some actual entry and passing it a bit. Every single, whether they score or don't score, every single time an Oilers get a power play, it's almost guaranteed to be some sustained pressure.
You know, when you talk about Seth Jarvis and his amazing goal, I just want to liken that to the second power play goal. You said it takes a real talent. You have to be a really good player to be able to slow the game and slow the puck right down to be able to score like that. And I don't think anybody's ever scored a goal any slower than Corey Perry's goal. The way he tapped that in,
but he didn't do it.
I'm not even sure it was going to make it over the line. It was going so slow.
But that was a great play by Nuge. We were texting about it as it happened.
Yeah.
Just great vision.
Yeah.
And again, like you don't want to let him just go right to the net, but the ability to be like to look off Corey Perry there and to look like you're going to shoot and lay a perfect pass where you just can't miss. It's impossible to at that point. Actually, in that other game, Sam Bennett threw a nice one, not as nice, but a nice one like that to, can't remember who actually tucked it in, but it was just on the stick, floated in. You just really can't miss. You just got to put your stick out there. But yeah, that was a great tap in, and it changed the whole game around, right? And Nuge is having a huge series. He's having a huge series. He's he's obviously never going to be the first name out. He's obviously been a guy who's been talked about getting traded because he's just not, he's their biggest name that's not Connor and Leon. So he's your most return value. So in all these years where they're like, we couldn't get it done, we needed defense, we needed goaltending, the name that had to come up every single time is Nuge. Not due to his play of being bad. It's actually his play of being good was the reason why.
Just being a guy that, is a good player and will get you a good goalie, would get you a good defenseman. Yeah.
You're not going to trade Leon. You're not going to trade Connor. So you're like, well, who's our next best player? Yeah. And it's been Nuge. And technically Nuge in this series has been their best player.
Oh, yeah. So when you do talk about some of their next best players, obviously the biggest news out of that game, besides taking a 3-1 lead, is the Zach Hyman injury. So in watching it, my first thought was probably a wrist injury. It looked like he got his stick caught. I don't think Marchment meant to do it, but he tried to just hit him a little bit and whatever. I doubt he was aiming for a wrist or something like that. But it's Marchment, so you never know. He might have been. But obviously, really disappointing news. Really tough. There is no replacing Zach Hyman. His physical element and what he was bringing right now, as well as still, I think he had 5 goals, 6 assists, something like that in the playoffs, as well as 110, 111 hits. You're not going to be able to replace that. There's a lot of debate about who's actually going to step into the lineup. If it's going to be more of a Max Jones to still be physical, or if it's going to be a Jeff Skinner. They'll go 11-7. If there's all kinds of options. So we'll wait to hear from that tomorrow. But it's a real tough one. We hate to see it. Obviously, Hyman's a well-respected player in the league and everything else. So not letting him finish this Stanley Cup run is really tough, and it does make it tougher on the Oilers. I mean, he's a net front presence, a hitter, an absolute bulldog on that puck. He wins all kinds of battles. There's a guy, when you talk about not losing a puck, man, that guy goes into a corner and he comes out of it like 90% of the time. Doesn't matter if it's one guy, two guys, he just gets it and makes it happen. So it's going to be a tough presence.
Yeah, I think they won't miss him a ton the rest of this series, to be honest. But I think it's that next series where that's where he'll shine in that type of little more gritty, grindy type series. You got to have some guys to counterbalance the Kachucks and the Bennetts and stuff like that, and Marchands. I think Zach gives you that chance to be able to be like, yo, you know what? You hit our guy, I'll hit you, sort of thing. And Kane's obviously going to probably have to become that guy. From the hit perspective, it was just a body check that kind of missed. And it kind of reminds me like when I was growing up playing soccer, our coach used to always tell us, even in college and stuff like that, we used to practice tackling. And when you're going into a tackle, making sure that you, no matter what, go in hard. Because if you kind of went in sort of, and the tackle only kind of happens, that's when most injuries actually happen, not from the great contact. And I feel like that's almost the same with a lot of body checks. I think if he connects solid with that body check, he's probably still in the game.
Yeah.
But because he's kind of trying to get out of the way and he only catches part of him, he either catches, like you said, a wrist, or there was also talk that it could be a shoulder.
I'm pretty sure I read today was he was doing wrist surgery this morning.
Yeah. So it was, but that's because he only caught part of him.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? If you eat the whole hit, those are two things that don't really usually get hurt unless you fall on the ice weird.
He almost skated up beside him and then tried to cut across. So it wasn't really like him coming at him and he jumped out of the way. It was just sort of he just tried to make sure he got a body on him anyway, even though it was kind of, he was going to miss him.
Yeah, and I just mean by the sense of like, it's not a full hit.
Yeah.
So those are hard. Those are when some injuries come, and it sucks. Obviously, it didn't look like it was that bad from the initial moment, but then when we seen him go down the dressing room that quick and looked in pain in a close game like that, you're like, well, obviously something bad. He's not the type of guy who's going to take himself off the ice unless he absolutely has to. Usually those type of guys, the trainer has to be saying, no, you must go. No, you'll wince on the bench and maybe you don't go for the next shift, but you're not going anywhere. You don't want to see the boys see you leave, right? So that'll be a big loss, I think, next one. I think this one is really about speed. I feel like I understand the hits and stuff like that, but I just don't think that's been the difference maker in this series. I feel like that counter attack and the power play, yes, losing him on the power play, but there's been a lot of time he hasn't been on the power play even. They've been putting Perry in his spot on the power play a ton. So I just don't think it'll be much of a factor for the rest of this one.
No, but I do like the idea that he would be one of the guys that's really hitting the body on the defenseman. If they do make it through and play the Panthers,
correct,
then he's going to be the guy hitting Ekblad, Jones, all that stuff.
I think you're going to see Connor Podolson or whatever his name is. He likes to throw body. I think there's enough guys. I just don't think. I think if you were to say Hyman on Oilers 2 years ago, I'd say, wow, what an amazing loss this will be. And I don't mean just because of his goal scoring or anything like that. I mean, they just didn't have that grit and grind and hitting. Now I think they've got a lot of it up and down the lineup that I'm never going to say he's a big miss, not a big miss. I'm just saying the impact of it will be less than it would have been in the past. I think you're still going to get a lot of guys who like to throw the body, who like to mix it up. I think they've got that structure to their game now. So as much as, Zach's going to suck to be out, I feel like won't play as much as a big problem where it's like, oh, he's out. What do we do? It just would obviously help when it could be a long series, the final.
Yeah, and the thing is with that, I will point out, and maybe it's just wishful thinking as a big Zach Hyman fan myself, most of them are saying he is most likely done for the season. So to me, that means that maybe there is a 2-week recovery window for this, like for whatever they were doing. I would imagine if it's any more than 2 weeks, you're done for the year. and it's probably done for the year, but
Yeah,
there's
you're not
just a
getting
few
you're not
saying
getting
most
wrist
likely.
surgery and then picking up a hockey stick, let alone just the physicality of the game. Try to pick up a hockey stick and try to take a slap shot. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
in my opinion, I wouldn't even want that to even happen if I was the Oilers because do you really want him to like have the puck and all of a sudden it hurts and he can't swing the puck and turn the puck over in bad spots? Unless you're coming back at 100%, I'd just be surprised. If it
Well,
was
that's
like a
it.
bend or something, but a surgery, no way,
I
man.
can't imagine what they would have had. I mean, it could have been a ligament, it could have been, an actual break, it could have been a few things. So it's hard to say. I mean, we're lucky we heard wrist compared to just upper body injury. So we'll see. Like I said, it's wishful thinking that when they say, most likely done for the season as opposed to 100% done. I saw a couple that said out for the season, but a few that said most likely. So we'll see. Like I'm just cautiously
Here's the
optimistic.
good
Maybe
news.
there's a chance.
If he comes back with a wrist injury, and we all know it's a wrist injury, here's the good news. Bouchard's on his team, so he can't take a dirty, cheap shot. So that's important.
Whoa. What are we talking about?
You don't remember seeing the Rupe Hintz chop at his ankle right in the game? You're like, that's a 2, a 5 in a game?
He was just checking to see if he was all
Intent
right.
to injure is, I'm pretty sure, a 5 in a game, and that was intent to injure.
He was just checking to see if he was okay.
No, he should have been in the box for that, without a doubt. That was dirty and ugly.
It was also a backhand chop, so I mean,
Doesn't matter.
It seems to be the routine
if you go at a guy's injury, he just came back from after missing a game with that injury. There's probably something broken in there, and the first thing you do when they're not even near the play is go and chop at the leg. You should be gone.
Well, it was definitely a surprise. I didn't think that would be a Bouchard type of move. So
no, I don't expect that from him. I'm just saying that should have been an insta. See ya. For any penalties you want to talk about, that should have been one like go on. See you later.
What about Granlund's like absolute crushing hit on Perry from behind?
The one he got a penalty for?
No, I don't think he did for that one, but no, he just ran into each other a little bit. And Granlund did it on purpose.
And there was, like I said, I texted you at the time. I feel like the first goal easily could have been called off. Perry definitely picks Draisaitl, not brutally, but enough where that's what helped Draisaitl get in.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the time they let that happen. Don't get me wrong. Like, that is part of the NHL. I watch it. The Sedin brothers used to be absolutely brilliant at it.
Yeah.
They would just cycle pick for each other back and forth throughout the game.
Well, that's because you couldn't tell them apart, so nobody knew if it was the same guy hitting them or not.
Like, how do you
give one of them a penalty?
But yeah, so that kind of thing. And then we saw the other way, though. Then it was like, okay, what was the next one? Oh, then he does get nailed.
Then he got it. And then Marchman got one too.
And then Marchman's was just blatant as hell too.
And he's literally yelling at the ref. Yeah. What? I was just standing there.
Yeah, that you could literally see you jump into the guy. Like I was laughing, going, "Okay, seriously, you guys, have you not learned?" And even BX and them, I think we're talking about the same.
Yeah, they were showing the highlights, the same thing, and basically talking that the refs probably went into the room and said,
they realized they missed that first one.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Okay, let's make sure we get on the rest of these, so it doesn't look like we're just allowing that to happen." And that's what all we see the rest of the game is. People just throwing picks to get away with it, right? And they nailed both guys pretty quickly after that. But
and I think it slowed it down quite a bit after that, right?
Yeah, but it is hockey, and it's going to happen, and you're going to get some, and some you're not. So the key is in hockey, in any sport, is to take advantage of the chances you do get, right? And so far, the Oilers have done that, and the Stars have not. And now we got probably tomorrow night for game.
Tomorrow night, game 5,
game
Dallas,
5, and I feel like the Oilers probably will close it out there. Maybe if Dallas gets a good power play going, maybe we're going to get back to Edmonton, but it's no way this series goes past 6. I feel like they're in their head. I just don't think Dallas seems to be out there. They're playing with tight sticks right now. Like, how do you score on Stuart Skinner? And you just be like, I don't know.
Not everybody knows Jeff Skinner's actually been playing the last 2 games.
Yeah, well,
just to try to give him a chance. They sat Stewie just to give him a bit more rest.
Like
and
966, that's got to be Jeff.
Well, we'll see. There is talk he might even make an appearance in this series again.
Yeah, I could see it maybe, but I don't know. I don't see the need to.
Well, just like they gotta. If they end up going with 12, they're gonna have to. They got Connor Brown out and now Hyman out, right? So.
Oh, I guess I forgot Connor was out. That's right. Because I was thinking to myself, we don't really need to bring that type of style in my opinion.
No, so they brought Arvidsson back, right?
Yeah.
And for Connor Brown. And then now with Hyman out, Are you going to bring a Skinner in, a Philp in, Max Jones in?
Isn't
There's a few
Philp the
different
guy that
guys.
had like an out of nowhere good last season? Who was that guy last year's out of nowhere?
Broberg.
No, it wasn't Broberg. It wasn't a
Hol-
defenseman. It was a forward.
What?
It was a
Oh,
forward.
Holloway.
No, it wasn't Holly. He was like a bigger guy.
I don't know.
What's Philp play?
Forward. He's just been in Bakersfield.
Yeah, he might have been him then. I don't know. There was just one guy I remember last year out of nowhere. He was scoring goals, hitting everybody, and I was like, "Who is this guy? He's having a great playoff." So I will have to look him up. But yeah,
Yeah, you figure
they're gonna
that
have to. They're obviously gonna have to put another guy in. It could be Skinner just due to experience. You got less. He's maybe not going to come out and score goals and things like that, but he might be also a guy who just doesn't give the puck away. Right.
Well,
so
he had a rough
sometimes that's
first
enough.
game, right? Remember, Skinner's a guy who played 1,000 games in the NHL and never made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Played one game against LA, the first one. Had one. He got a goal or an assist? Assist, I think, and was -3, and was definitely a detriment out there a little bit.
He's too slow.
Yeah, and so that was it. So he was out, never made it back in.
Yeah.
So
And again, that doesn't always speak bad about him either. The fact is, since then, they've also been on a big run. So you're not swapping guys in and out if you don't need to. Like when Arvidsson got taken out, it's not like Arvidsson was playing bad. They just look at things and go, okay, we're going to
They'd
put this
lost
guy
the game
in,
before.
and if we don't lose, then we're
we
going to
needed
keep
something
these
a little
guys.
bit different. Put Kapanen in instead.
Yeah.
And they won the next bunch of games. So you just keep going.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. And like I said, I feel like Stars have a great night on the power play. Then we're going to go to 6. If not, if they don't get, let's say, more than one power play goal, then I think it's done.
I think it'll be a little bit more, a little higher scoring. I think we'll see, rather than a 2-1 game, it's going to be more like a 4-3, something like that, 5-4 maybe. But I think, the Oilers will pull it out. They'll be able to do it and hopefully get a little bit of rest. I don't think we're going to see Ekholm. I think if it was 2-2, you'd see Ekholm make an appearance by now. But I think at this point, you'll see Ekholm ride it out and take the other week.
He sees Game 7.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if it goes to 7, then Ekholm was going to be like, okay, we're saving him for the final. But if you get to 7, you're like, well, we don't have a final. So if he's ready to go, he's coming in now. But beyond that, I think you just keep going without him until you get to the final. And then you bring him in for the whole final.
Well, they're playing good, right? There isn't really any concerns. Like they've got a goal a game the last couple. Like there's
no reason to risk him at all. In my opinion, it would be dumb to.
So I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring though in this one. I think it's going to be some back and forth, lots of chances. I think same kind of thing. I think Edmonton will go up. I think Dallas will come back and get it close, or maybe even tie it, and then Edmonton will finish them off and go from there to take it and ride out of Dallas with the Campbell Cup, whether they'll touch it or not. I don't think my guess says whatever they did last year, they're going to do the opposite. Maybe, I don't know, or they'll just won't touch it again or whatever. Anyway, so
all you have to remember is go Dallas Stars.
No, there's no go.
I know.
No, just Dallas Stars.
They just say the name.
I saw another a reel today actually, and a guy was talking about the same thing. I just hate that chant. He was talking as a Winnipeg Jets fan. Whatever you do, I just don't want to hear that chant
Go
again.
Jets Go is a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Go Jets Go is fine.
Yeah, if you've ever watched sports, that is the weirdest chant of all time.
Yep. We're not switching off of that, Dallas. I know you're listening. I see you out there, but we're still not switching off of it. Get something else.
Please find another chant.
All right, Sips. Well, thank you. Great job tonight. I thought we really brought some good insights, and you know what? Maybe, just maybe, we got something right tonight, just this time only. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Don't forget you can find us at sportsbuds.com. That's SPORTSBUDZ or Z for you folks in the US of A.com. We're on all your favorite podcast sources: Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, TuneIn, and we're also on YouTube. So don't forget, take a look, have a listen to us there. You can also subscribe and make some comments, and make sure you follow and subscribe for all future episodes. That way you won't miss anything. And take a look at our social media, Instagram, Facebook. We're trying to do a little bit more on both of those. You'll see more reels, more posts, all of that, and you can keep up with us there as well. Thank you, Sims. Great talk tonight, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting ready with a nice Stanley Cup final prep next time.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, buddy. Gonna be an exciting game. Can't wait to see it.
Awesome. Thanks, Sims. Have a great night.